$2,000. That is what you just handed the kid at the big box store for a shiny red mower with a famous American name stamped on the side. You wheel it out to the parking lot, you load it into your truck, you feel like you finally bought something built the right way, the way your father bought things. Then you flip the manual open in your driveway and the small print tells you the engine is from China, the deck was stamped in Mexico, and the whole thing was assembled in a plant that closed 2 states away from where the brand started. That floor associate did not lie to you. He just read the sign over the display, the same sign the marketing department wrote, the same red, white and blue paint job the lawn care industry has been selling you for the last 15 years while quietly shipping the actual factories overseas. And here is the frustration that keeps coming back every spring. You wanted to buy American, you thought you did buy American. You pay the American price, you get the American sticker, but the mower in your shed is held together by the same global supply chain as the $40 trimmer next to it. Most guys handle this the wrong way. They trust the brand name their grandfather trusted. They trust the flag on the hood. They trust the salesman who says, oh yeah, this one's still made here. And 3 years later, the deck rusts through, the parts are back ordered for 9 weeks, and nothing about next spring is any different than last spring. So in the next few minutes, I am going to show you exactly which mower companies still build their machines on American soil, and I am going to split this into 2 very different categories, because a push mower and a riding mower are not the same animal, and the companies that survived in each category are not the same companies. And then at the end, I am going to give you the one brand that professional landscapers quietly buy for themselves, the brand that is the entire reason I made this video, and I am not going to name it yet. But before we get there, let me ask you something. If John Deere is headquartered in Illinois, why is the lawn tractor you bought at the orange store almost certainly not the same machine a farmer buys at the green dealership down the road? Hold that question. Part 1, the push mower problem, and I want to start here because this is the mower 9 out of 10 of you actually own. Here is the truth most people miss. The label "Made in USA" on a push mower is one of the most legally abused phrases in the entire hardware aisle. The Federal Trade Commission rule says a product can only carry that label if all or virtually all of it is made domestically, but the loophole is the phrase "Made in USA with global components," and that one extra word "with" lets a company import the engine, import the wheels, import the cables, bolt them onto a deck stamped in Ohio, and legally print a flag on the box. So when you stand in the aisle and you see 4 mowers with American flags on them, 3 of those flags are doing a job the law never intended. The mechanical consequence is this. The engine is the single most expensive and most failure-prone part of a push mower, and if the engine came from a factory 8,000 miles away, every part inside it, every gasket, every carburetor, jet, every ignition coil is on a slow boat when it breaks. That is why your neighbor's mower has been sitting in his garage since June waiting on a $12 part. The reframe is simple. You are not buying a mower, you are buying a 20-year parts pipeline, and most of those pipelines now start in another country. So who is actually left? The first name is Honda, and I know what you are thinking. Honda is Japanese, but here is the specific detail that matters. The HRX and HRN walk-behind mowers sold in the United States are assembled at the Honda plant in Swepsonville, North Carolina, and the GCV engine on top of them is built in Swepsonville as well on the same campus, which is why parts for those engines ship in 2 days instead of 2 months. A new HRX runs you about $700, which is double what the box store special costs, but the deck is a single piece of neck sight that will outlast 3 steel decks, and I have seen them run 25 years on nothing but oil changes and a new blade once a season. The second name, and this is the one almost nobody knows about, is a small company called Country Clipper, built in Corydon, Iowa, and while they are better known for their zero turns, their walk-behinds are stamped, welded, and assembled in that same Iowa plant from American Steel, with Kawasaki or Kohler engines bolted on, and the Kohler engines specifically are still built in Kohler, Wisconsin. The cost of getting this wrong is not just the mower. It is the 3 weekends next August you spend driving around looking for a part, the patch of lawn that grows past ankle height while you wait, the $70 the small engine shop charges you just to diagnose what a domestic dealer would have fixed in an afternoon. One quick prevention tip before we move on. Before you buy any mower, flip the engine cover and read the small data plate on the engine block itself, not the sticker on the deck, because the deck sticker tells you where it was assembled, but the engine plate tells you where the expensive part actually came from. If this is the kind of thing nobody tells you in the garden aisle, do me one favor and hit subscribe, because every video on this channel pulls back the curtain on exactly this kind of thing, the stuff the salesman is paid, not to mention one quick ask, and we keep going. Part 2, and this is a completely different machine with a completely different problem, the riding mower and the zero turn. Here is the thesis. The riding mower industry is the most misleading corner of the entire outdoor power equipment market, and the mistake most homeowners make is assuming the brand on the hood tells them who built the tractor. It does not. The catastrophic consequence of that assumption is that you spend $4,000 to $7,000 on a machine you expect to keep for 15 years, and somewhere in year 4 the transaxle fails, and you discover that the transaxle, the deck, the engine and the frame were all built by 4 different companies in 4 different countries, and no single dealer wants to take responsibility for any of it. You end up with a $4,000 paperweight and a repair quote that costs more than a new mower. So who is actually building riding mowers on American soil right now? Method 1, the cheapest entry point is Bad Boy Mowers, built in Batesville, Arkansas, in a vertically integrated plant where they weld their own frames, stamp their own decks and powder coat in-house. A Bad Boy ZT Elite starts around $4,000, and the reason it works mechanically is the frame is a 1.5-inch tubular steel that weighs noticeably more than the imported competition, which means the deck does not flex when you hit a root, which means the spindles do not crack at the welds, which is the single most common failure point on cheap zero turns. Method 2 is Spartan mowers built in Batesville, Mississippi, and this one steps up in price to about $6,000 to $8,000. The mechanical advantage is the Spartan uses a suspended operator platform with actual coil springs under the seat, which sounds like a comfort feature but is actually a longevity feature, because every bump that does not travel through your spine also does not travel through the frame welds. And on a machine you will sit on 300 hours over its lifetime. That suspension is what keeps the structure intact at year 10. Both companies use American Kohler or Kawasaki engines, and Kawasaki actually builds their commercial FX series engines in Maryville, Missouri, which is a detail almost no salesman will tell you. Method 3 is the one a professional would reach for, and it is Skag, built in Mayville, Wisconsin. A Skag Cheetah or Tiger Cat runs you $11,000 to $14,000, which sounds insane for a homeowner, but here is the mechanical reason landscapers buy them. The deck on a Skag is 7-gauge steel, which is roughly 3/16 of an inch thick, where most homeowner decks are 11 or 12 gauge, less than half that thickness, and that deck will not warp, will not crack at the spindle mounts, and will hold cut quality through 1,000 hours of mowing wet, thick grass. Skag builds the deck, the frame, and the chassis all in Mayville, and their dealer network keeps parts on the shelf for machines built 20 years ago. And now, the answer to the question I left hanging at the start. John Deere does still build some lawn tractors in Greenville, Tennessee, but the models you find at the Orange Store, the entry-level 100 series, are built to a different specification than the models sold at an actual John Deere dealership. The box store Deere uses a stamped deck, a single-cylinder engine, and a transaxle that is sealed and non-serviceable, meaning when the transmission fails at year 5, the entire unit is scrapped. The dealer Deere, the 1025R or the X300 series, uses a welded deck, a serviceable transmission, and parts you can still buy in 2045. Same green paint, same logo, 2 entirely different machines. Part 3, prevention. This is the approach the entire video was built around, and the brand the professionals quietly buy for themselves, and it is the one I left for the end on purpose. Walk into any independent landscaping shop on a Tuesday morning and look at what the crew trailers are loaded with. It is not John Deere, it is not Toro. It is overwhelmingly Skag and, to a smaller degree, Exmark, and Exmark is built in Beatrice, Nebraska, in a plant that has been stamping decks in that same town since 1982. The single universal action that prevents you from ever getting burned again is this. Before you spend $1, call the nearest independent mower dealer in your area, not the box store, and ask one question. What brand do your commercial accounts buy? The mechanical reason this works is that commercial buyers, the guys mowing 40 lawns a week, have already done your testing for you, and they only buy machines where the parts pipeline is short, the dealer is responsive, and the deck does not fail at year 3. The exact tool you need is a phone, the application is one 5-minute call, and the money it saves you is somewhere between $2,000 and $4,000 over the next 10 years, because you will buy one mower instead of 2. Now let me sort this out for you specifically. If you have a 1/4 acre flat suburban lot and you push your mower yourself, the Honda HRX from Swepsonville at $700 is the answer, and it is not close. If you have 1 to 3 acres of lawn and you want a 0 turn that will last 15 years without breaking your back, the Bad Boy or Spartan in the $4,000 to $8,000 range is the right machine. And if you have 3 acres or more, or any kind of slope or grass that stays wet into June, the Skag from Mayville is the only machine on this list that will still be cutting clean lines in 2040. Now, here is the new problem you are about to run into. The second you start shopping for any of these brands, the independent dealer is going to quote you a price 2 to 3 weeks out, because none of these companies keep the same inventory on hand that the big box stores do, and you are going to be tempted to walk back to the orange store out of pure impatience. So, if you are about to face that exact decision, the wait versus the impulse buy, drop the word waiting in the comments and tell me which brand you are looking at, and I will personally tell you whether that wait is worth it for your specific yard. The next video on this channel is going to show you exactly how to negotiate with an independent mower dealer to get the dealer prep fee waived, the extended warranty included, and the first service free, which is roughly $600 of value most homeowners leave on the table because they do not know to ask. Subscribe so that video lands in your feed the day it goes live, because the worst thing you can do after watching this one is walk into a dealership tomorrow without knowing the 3 sentences that get you those concessions. I will see you in the next one.